Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another video. My roll cage tube is turned up, ready to do some roll cage work, but I've done myself a mischief and injured my foot. So I'm on crutches at the moment and it's going to be very hard for me to do anything in the shed roll cage wise, or anything wise actually, just with me hobbling around. So yeah, not the video I wanted to put out. But I decided that we'll do a little showcase on the car instead, since I can walk around it pretty easily, and just tell you a bit about the car. Also, I'm filming this on the GoPro now instead of my phone, so let me know how that goes with like sound and image quality and you know, shit like that. Hopefully do this all in one take without any edits, so no pauses hopefully. We'll see how good I am anyway. Anyway, crack into it. For starters, you'll probably know the car, S15. Motor wise, we run, or I run, it's not we, not a team or anything. It's a 1.5 JZ motor. Had a 1 JZ in my old Chaser out the side that I used to run as a track car. Obviously I heat seized that and blew the bottom end. And at the time there was a cheap 2JZ GE motor pop up for sale on Trade Me, which is New Zealand's marketplace over here. So I decided to buy one of those and whack the head from the 1J on it. I pieced it together originally and it was just a slap together just to get it going. So it had a few issues back then, so we're good now though, because now it is fully forged bottom end. So we run CP pistons, Manly rods, ACL bearings throughout, ARP main studs. Haven't got main caps, but I probably should do main caps because we do make 550 kilowatt in this thing to the rear tyre, so it probably is pushing the strength capabilities of a standard main cap. But we'll gamble that one for now. As for the bottom end, GE bottom ends, by the way, same as a GTE bottom end, just no oil squirters. So everything else is identical. So the crank is essentially the same GTE crank, you know, semi-forged thing, I believe. So strength-wise, we've got no issues there. Head's just what have we got in the head? Kelford cams, 272s. The springs, obviously to suit, because you can't run the standard springs because you'll have issues. Ported, I've ported the head myself, so it's not a professional-ish job, but I mean professional enough. I am a mechanic, but that doesn't mean shit. And but there's some knowledge there about, you know, what I've learnt and what I've googled and stuff about, and you know, talked to engine builders and stuff about how port should be. So I've done that to the best of my capabilities. I didn't go overboard on the porting, but it seems to flow a lot of air now, obviously to support, you know, over 700 horsepower. So we must have done a decent enough job. It is laggy though, so whether or not it's too big, but it could be due to the turbo as well, because it's a quite a monster of a turbo. It's a it's a Borg Warner SC or S300, whatever that model is. The frame is that, but it's had, this is my pointer stick now, my crutch. It's got a billet wheel in the front, which has been resized, I believe, and a billet, not a billet, just a different size turbine wheel to suit that housing. So it's not a S300 turbo just bolted on. It's been trimmed and all the other stuff that the turbo gurus do, I guess. But yeah, we run that. What else can we look at in here? Synco manifold. Synco's a outfit here in New Zealand that make manifolds and all sorts of other stuff. So I've had it for about 10 years now, so, and it still hasn't cracked, so testimonial to how well the gear is. GDR 35 coils in it. These things support fucking shitloads of horsepower, so you never have any spark issues. I've always had spark issues in all my cars, so I decided to bite the bullet and just buy the GDR ones, and yeah, they don't break down anymore. So they built in igniters too, so no need for an igniter pack on that. That's about it really for the engine bay. I don't know what else you can go through. It's just got all your basic other stuff that you'd have, you know, your fuel pressure regulator, Chinese manifold and rail and stuff, but I mean, it supports the power that it makes, so we can't be going too bad. I have port matched that manifold because they're terrible from when you buy them, like the flange to where the pipes weld on. It's like a big step, so I've had to go through with a die grinder and like match them so it's a nice even flow in that. Otherwise it's just fucking terrible. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the engine bay. Just, you know, random little mods, like obviously you got all your coolers and fucking braided lines and shit, but that's just fucking, they just look pretty, really. Not really there for, well, I suppose they're there for performance. You're not going to blow one compared to a standard rubber hose. So yeah, what else we got to the front before I move on? Probably maybe the front suspension. Run a GK Tech, the Superlock V4 set up in this thing, and TSD suspension front and rear. TSD is just a another outfit here in New Zealand. Probably mid-range coilover, I guess. You know, you're paying your $1,000 to $2,000 for them, so they're not like your field suspension or your probably that top of the line BCs or whatever, but they do a good job, so get around without too much trouble. So yeah, the GK Tech lock setup, I would prefer probably after driving on a Wisefab setup. I have driven one and I quite like the feel of the Wisefab a lot more than this, but I'm not sure if it's because the Wisefab was set up correctly to just run, and compared to this where I've had a bit of issues with it, like the last 2 track days in it, I've had issues with binding. Not binding the first time, but I ended up junking my rack relocation that I done and ended up just buying the Wisefab kit that you weld in, and that seemed to be a lot better. And another change I made from the first to second track day is the offset strut tops that GK Tech do as well. So I think I had a lot of caster and issues, and just the way the strut was positioned in the tower was like really stood over, so the caster on full lock was getting real out the gate. So it's really helped at the moment. The last track day it did feel a lot more positive to drive, but you know, Wisefab's just like the top tier go-to bloody cheat code, so that would be a dream one day to have that. Probably like the new front kit they do, that'd be sick, but for now this does get me by and it's very, very drivable at the moment. Another thing I've done on this too is the alternator usually runs on this side on a JZ, but I've relocated it onto this side with a little bracket I made. I probably can't get in there to show you it properly, just to get it away from the hot side and to shorten the belt, because as you know, like a JZs are pretty good for throwing belts because of the standard tensioner that runs like here. So it's, you know, it does a weird path, and you know, high RPMs and the harmonics of the tensioner does, you can throw belts, but the way this is set up, it's just 3 pulleys, and I've made this bracket here, send a pulley there, and it just jams the belt hard down. So I've never had that belt come off. And if you've got an eagle eye, you'll notice that it's got a 5 PK belt on there instead of a 6 PK belt, and that's because my old pulley, my old bracket I made was a little bit on the piss, so it walked the belt off and it ended up chewing like an edge off. So I ended up just buying a 5 PK belt just so it wouldn't walk off. But and I haven't changed it, naughty of me, but it hasn't fallen off yet. So we're going with that it works now. So don't fix it yet. What else have we got under here? Might be about it really. Yeah, about it. 4-inch exhaust. Obviously, if you've heard it running in my other videos, it's quite fucking loud. It's 4-inch exhaust to the diff, and then it goes into 2 3-inch twins, so it's very fucking rowdy, but I like it. Like it like that. So that's probably about it. Styling of the car, as you know from the last videos, it's obviously the Super Doof kit, but the front and rear guards are Origin Lab 75mm over fenders. So I don't usually run these wheels on the front. I usually run a 18x9 plus 20 wheel with a spacer on the front just for clearance, but I debeated one last track day, so I've had all the matching wheels on it in this case. So it's not usually how I run it, because this wheel I think might slightly catch in there on full lock, or it gets real close, but I don't run the risk. But on the back, obviously all my wheels are about 18x9, 9.5, 10, but I have to run 50mm worth of spacer to get it to be pumped out this wide. It does it's probably touching as it is. Could probably get away with maybe 35 mil of a spacer, just for a bit of clearance. But I mean, the tyre will just rub the guard anyway, and then it'll make it some path where it wants to sit, so not too bothered. You know, guards are cheap enough if you can get originally ones. What else we got in the car? I suppose we go to the rear, or maybe in the kit. I'll go to the rear first. Obviously, like every track car that we have out nowadays, radiators are in the rear, so that's what's happened here. I actually brought the shell when it was pretty much cut off here and at the front strut towers, so I've built it how the original person that cut it up was going to build it. Plus I liked the idea at the time for rear mount, because it was like early days when I got the car. It was a few years ago, before like it was like a real mainstream thing to do, and I wanted to be like one of the first, or no, first-ish person to do it out of a group. So it wasn't really for clout or anything, but I just wanted the like the experience of doing it. So yeah, radiator, I don't know what the radiator is. I've seen a lot of people run like quite big radiators in the back. This one I just found online. It was just like a big V8 one. It was the biggest core I could find, so I just brought that. It seems to be alright for cooling. It doesn't really overheat. Well, it doesn't overheat, sorry, it doesn't really overheat. It used to, without, I used to run two 12-inch fans on it without a shroud, but ever since putting this big 16-inch spool fan on there, it keeps temps pretty sweet. Like last track day, it didn't get over, what, 105 degrees or something, and then once you come back round and you're sitting for a while, you're back down to, you know, thermostat temperature, like 80. Not that I run a thermostat in this anyway, it's just purely controlled by the electric water pump, so Davies Gray water pump, and a controller, which is in the car. I just let that purely do its thing. You can run your water pumps off your ECUs, I think, or your PDMs if you got one of those, but I didn't want the hassle of setting all that up when the people that make the water pump obviously have a controller that's made for it. So we'll just run that, so it's like a separate system, and it just gets a temp sensor, like it picks up a temp from a sensor that's included with it, just in the top of the radiator hose at the front there, and it just controls it all. So the pump will spin when it needs to, like, pump when it gets to a bit warm, and will slow down when it doesn't, you know, when it's getting colder. So it works quite well. Last time on a skid pad, I was up to like 110 degrees, come off, and you can turn the engine off but leave the accessories on, and the water pump will still be running because it's set up, you know, to be powered, you know, past accessories. So it just sits there and just pumps, and the fan still goes as well. So it was down to 80 degrees within a minute of just sitting there. So it seems to be quite a good system at the moment. If I ever do have troubles with overheating in future, you know, when I can get to drive the car a bit harder maybe, and I'm a bit more of a more experienced driver, because obviously I'm pretty amateur driver. It's probably a bit of an overkill of a car for an amateur driver, but I mean, I just like building, you know, shit like this, so it is what it is. So yeah, in the future, if it gets hot, I will probably make a bigger shroud for this radiator and run two fans, possibly, or look into maybe a slightly bigger core. But I think double fans is maybe a bit of an overkill, because this one works, and I've heard things about double fans where, you know, like they're interfering with each other, you know, how they both put, I don't know. Basically, it works, so we're not changing it yet. What else we got? Fuel cell. This fuel cells I made myself. A lot of people run a radium, obviously, or something else, but I run this one that I've made to suit in here. Basically, S15 comes straight across here, and it's like the body's here. So obviously you cut all that out, that floor pan, and then make another piece of steel to sit like a little shelf for it to all sit on, which is nice, which is cool, because obviously it sits in there real well when you do that. But yeah, there's not much to the back really, just a fuel cell, like a lift pump, because there's a surge tank in this end, like it's cornered off in there with steel as well. So we pump fuel into a surge tank, and then we've just got the two feed lines that come out of the bottom there, and go to two Deutsch, whatever you say it, Deutsch Works pumps, two 700 like horsepower rated ones, so plenty of fuel there. It's twin feed obviously, and single return. AN8 feeds, 6 return, so we've got plenty of fuel. I only run 98 in this as well, so it's not hugely demanding. Like if you were to run E85 obviously you require like 30% more fueling, so everything has to suit that, but we make decent power on 98 fuel, so no issues there. What else we got in here? Obviously that's much just the header tank for the cooling system, you know, just to bleed the air out when it's circulating. Air sort of, it returns from the motor, comes in the tank, it's like a swirl pot, swirls down to there into the radiator, goes for cooling, so all the air comes out top. I need another bottle for when this cap over pressurizes to push into another bottle, because at the moment it just pushes out water and then it obviously can't suck anything in like a factory car would, so sometimes I have to top the water up, but it's not too much of an issue at the moment. What else have we got in this thing? Rear end, 350Z, yeah, 350Z, like a 3.9 diff. It's about the highest ratio you can get for a 350, I believe. You can buy a crown wheel that does 4.1 and stuff, but at that point you're just buying a Winters really. So we run that. It is quite long, and it is quite like that. It's got really long like legs on it, so it's not real quick to like real zippy through the gears or anything, but we'll make it work. Rear end's just pretty standard. It is just got tow arms, camber arms, what's the other one, traction arm I guess. Subframe's just got the GK Tech reinforcement kit through it just for a bit extra strength. Pretty basic run-of-the-mill rear end that you'd have, solid bushes and stuff, so yeah, easy peasy. Double calipers too, for your handbrake. I don't know if you can see that side actually, it's a bit fucking hobble. Obviously you got your double calipers, so you don't have your spongy shitty fucking factory pedal there from running it through a single line. But yeah, that's about it for the rear. Inside the car, I guess, pretty factory looking track car in here. You got your 6-point cage, side intrusions, your bucket seats, steel dash, because an S15 dash is hell expensive, and I didn't have one, didn't want to pay the money for one, so I just filled up a bit of like 0.8 bloody panel steel bolter in there. It's good to go. It rattles a little bit, but it's all good. You don't hear it when your car's fucking on limit. What else we got in here? Oh, gearbox. This runs HGT 4-speed sequential, so that's a newish addition. Pretty cool. I like smacking on that thing. Makes you feel fucking like a real race car driver, that thing. The ratios in it, since it's 4-speed, obviously your 4 speeds, you 1-to-1s, but your first, second, third are quite high, which really emphasizes the long ratios with the diff as well. So it is quite like, it's not, you don't go through them like you would a 6-speed sequential or 5-speed, because obviously the 5-speed version of this is a 1-to-1 as well, so you got 4 extra gears there to split up till you get to the 1-to-1. With this one I've only got 3, so first, second is pretty long, but you can go through second, third, fourth, you know, they get closer and closer, so it's not so bad. You just have to man up and fucking balls to the wall, really. ECU for this thing, we run a Link Storm X. I used to run a Storm Plus, but it was like batch fire ignition and injection and stuff, and I don't like that, doesn't like the idea of it. So this thing here is obviously you have individual fire coils and ignition, which I like a lot more. Run a ECU Master PMU, so we've got no relays in this thing, no relays and fuses. But the thing is, if you do have an issue, you have to have a laptop or a tablet with you so you can plug into that thing, so you can reset the fuse if it overloads, or the relay system in it. So haven't had that yet, because obviously if you set it up correctly so that everything's suited, you're not gonna have an issue unless you have like a power to ground where it fully shorts. So everything should be thought out of beforehand for your maximum target, so you should never be reaching that anyway. So, but I take a laptop / tablet with me anyway, just in case. But probably should do that anyway. What else we got going on in this car? It's pretty simple in here. Obviously hydro. We've got a Wellwood pedal box in it, reverse swing. Basically, I wanted the reverse swing just to keep, because obviously when you're JZ in a Nissan, well, any right-hand drive car, JZ, brake fluid reservoir and your clutch reservoirs on the firewall real close to the exhaust, and just to save the hassle of heat and stuff. I know you can heat wrap and tape the firewall with reflective tape and all that stuff, but it was just easier to get a pedal box and have all the reservoirs on the inside of the car. Then it's never an issue. So I went that route, which is, you know, a little bit of extra fabrication to get the framework for it to bolt to, but I mean, fuck, for the sake of going to a track day and spending all that money and then you have, you know, your reservoir melt or something, it's just not worth it. Same goes with the gearbox. I used to run an R154 in this thing, but you know, it's getting to the point where you got so much power, and like R154's good box, but once again, you're spending like $2 grand to go to track day and you blow a gearbox on the first lap or something, you're going to be real fucking depressed. So bit of a cost to actually buy this initially, obviously, but yeah, worth it in the long run because you shouldn't have any downtime in the end of it. So that's about it for the inside of the car. I don't know what else to show. Obviously I run my water lines, the aluminium like 38mm LE pipes run through the car with AN20 lines each end, so I can have the hoses. I ran them through the car because I didn't want any, since I'm an amateur driver, I didn't want to run the risk of me coming off a track, which I do on the regular, and like smashing a line as well, because obviously you're going to be out for the day if you pierce a line under the car. So run them through the car and just have this like safety bloody, just this thing I'll fold it up to cover them. This here acts as a cover and sort of a footrest as well, so it goes to about there and then under the seat, and then where the back of the seat there lips up for where the rear seats used to be, they just go through that piece there and on a plate, and just they run out up to the radiator, so there's no chance of them actually getting clipped or damaged while driving this. So I could probably drive this thing off-road if I wanted to over rocks and shit, and it, the only thing we're going to risk damaging is probably the fuel line. So yeah, so that's how that goes. I know there's not much else to go in here. Obviously that rear firewall, I had these hoses and some knacker ducts in the corner windows just to get some more air, hoping to go like when you had no airflow over the car. But it come to my bloody knowledge after I've done all this that you're not really relying on airflow over the car to go through the rear radiator. You just sort of purely rely on the radiator to pull and cool the car, and that's it, like no airflow. So as long as there's a hole there for the air to be pulled through, like I think the fan does a good enough job. So I could probably really fuck off those knacker ducts and those pipings there, because I don't think they really do anything, and yeah, they kind of look ugly to me now. But I think that's about it. Obviously dry cell and your fire extinguisher. Recommend a dry cell when you're drifting, because obviously your car goes around, or any race car actually, because so many G-forces, you know, a wet battery, the cells will fucking run the risk of being flown around with that. So dry cells are really good. You can actually roll over with that thing and you're pretty sweet. Not that we want to be rolling over. Yeah, I'm trying to think of more stuff so I don't have to get up and walk around on my bung leg. So, but obviously if I just zoom around the car, you see everything. For the roll cage anyway, I don't know if I've shown this in the last one, but see how they come from this point here, and it's like quite close to, like when I'm sitting in here, my helmet either touches that, was real close, or I'm like cocking my head a little bit to avoid it. So it'll be real sick, which is what I'm going to be doing next anyway. So the next video will be on the roll cage. I'll be running the pipe high up to the roof line there, and then coming in, and then it's probably easier to show on this side actually. So yeah, up there, and then we'll come down probably a little bit closer here and run it like straight down here more. That way I can come straight off and make these side intrusions step out into the doors. So I'll cut the door, you know, in line there somewhere, so we can have those side intrusions way out. But you'll see that in the next video anyway. When I can be a bit more mobile, I'll get around to like gutting this taking the seats and all that out so I can work in here. But yeah, I guess I have to get out of the car now. But yeah, that's about it for the car, I believe. I don't think there's anything I've really missed. Nothing overly like big ticket items or big items. Yeah, that's probably about it. Yeah, we're done. That's it, we're done. So next video, obviously roll cage. This is obviously the same tube size as the front bumper that I made, that you hopefully would have watched the video for that. If not, go back a few. So my bender does this roll cage tube as well, which is sick. So yeah, I'll be hoping to do roll cage, and because this cage isn't homologated, so it's not signed off, so there's a few tracks that I can't run at because the cage isn't signed off. So this cage is I'm hoping we'll redo it, do the paperwork and get the cage homologated, but at the same time I really want to change this back as well. There's a company that do pre-made windows, like rear window, and the side one is what James Dean runs on his car. So I want to buy those and, you know, sit the window in because it's pre-formed and it looks nice, and then make a new firewall that meets it, that maybe sits back a little bit, just so I've got less of a hole in the back. But that's probably going to be future video, or, you know, when I can afford it, because I'm not sponsored or anything like that. So, and I don't make heaps of money off YouTube, not yet anyway. Hook us up. But yeah, that's going to be it for the video. I don't think I missed anything, so we'll just tie it up there. Obviously, all the usual bullshit, I suppose. Like, subscribe. You know how it goes now. You know what we all wish for doing YouTube videos. We want that attention. So like, subscribe if you enjoyed this. Like the car, don't like the car. Anything maybe I do different. I don't know. Maybe my delivery, or maybe it's boring. Maybe you want the videos cut down. I don't know. I don't think I've got a big enough fan base or a following yet to be requesting stuff like that, but hopefully we get there one day. But yeah, I appreciate everyone watching these videos, those of you that do. So yeah, I'll sign off here, and we'll catch you in the next one, hopefully in another week or so, when I can move more, crack into it. So yeah, cheers. One take as well, all in one take. How good.